Who are you?
I am a massage therapist, but by night I am a pole dancer.
What is a massage competition and how does one win a massage competition?
Oh man, why does my outfit have to equivalate to me wanting to look sexy?
Why do you like feet?
Oh my god. Hey, I'm still here. Come get a massage. That is how I've built my business, is by just being annoying. I am definitely one of the best, if not the best therapist in Western North Carolina. I know you've heard me say, like, I'm a natural crackhead and, like, I don't need drugs because I have so much energy. I don't mean that. If I remind you of your ex-girlfriend, you are going to hate getting a massage from me.
How do you develop that trust in other people?
You want me to be honest.
Welcome to today's episode of Getting to Know You. I'm your host, Cameron Edward Benton, and on today's episode, I have the great pleasure of introducing you to Morgan Kylia. Morgan is a massage therapist, a pole dancer, an entrepreneur, and much, much more. Morgan and I first met at a storytelling workshop in Austin, Texas, and I was completely captivated by her authenticity, her charisma, and her self-confidence. In this episode, we talk about her journey starting out as an entrepreneur at 19 years old, what it's like to give these very transformational massages, why she loves feet, and the power of authenticity and self-expression in her life and her business. One of the things I really got from this episode was Morgan's confidence and her self-expression. She is someone who's deeply committed to the full authentic expression of herself, not hiding really any aspect of her life from her business, and that has had a big, powerful effect on the people in her life as well as her clientele. Morgan is an absolute superstar when it comes to being your best self, and she inspires us all to live more authentically. So without further ado, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and here is getting to know Morgan Kylia. Who are you?
Hi, my name is Morgan Kylia. I am a multifaceted, multidimensional human being. I professionally am a massage therapist, which I love my day job, but by night I am a pole dancer, not a stripper. They are two different things. And I love being able to be that person that is not afraid to show all sides of myself to my clients and to people in my everyday life.
Beautiful. Yeah, that was one of the things that I really noticed in going through your social media was you had a strong emphasis on that. You had a really strong kind of line in the sand at some point where you're like, I'm not going to just be a massage therapist. This is my full human being. And I think you even said something to the extent of, if you don't like that, you can go somewhere else. So I'm curious, like, why has that been such a big key factor in your life at this point?
That is actually really funny. In massage school, we were taught people should not know anything about you. You should not be friends with your clients. You should be very professional, very dry, this is how it is. And I remember sitting in class going, well, that's kind of a crock of shit. Like, I don't want to be intimate with somebody that I don't know anything about them. So when I became a massage therapist and I got my license and started the entrepreneur journey, it was the number one priority that I do not sacrifice my personality. I do not sacrifice the person who created this, because without me, this wouldn't even be a thing. People do not pay for a service, they pay for the service provider. And I have found that to be so true for the last 7 years. People aren't coming to me because of my massage. Yes, my massage is amazing and I am very qualified and I take a lot of consideration when it comes to crafting my service. But people come for me. They come because they know that I am the massage therapist that's going to cuss every now and then, and we're gonna talk about questionable things on the table, because there are really no boundaries when it comes to getting to know a person. You are being so vulnerable by being naked on my table. The easiest thing I can do is open up about who I am. So I am always an advocate for people expressing themselves. If you want to be a stripper, be a stripper. If you want to be a massage therapist, be a massage therapist. Make the separation that those are two different things, but also blend them into being a full person. We are not one thing. We are not one dimensional. We are meant to be existing in different levels of life. And I think that can go professionally, romantically, personally. Like, we're not meant to just be in this one spot all the time. life would be really fucking boring if we were just one-sided.
I very much agree with that. I'm curious, like, why is self-expression? Because it seems like even when you were in massage school, that was really, really important to you. Why is that so important to you?
I've thought about that a lot, and I actually had this conversation with my mom a few weeks ago. One of my superpowers in life is confidence. I can just walk into a room of strangers and walk away with everybody knowing my name. Like, I am really good at getting into places. And I think a lot of that and the self expression is because of my mom. She grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, which I'm not sure if you know much about Jehovah's Witnesses. There is
I
no
actually
self
do.
expression.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah. No,
there.
I have a couple of friends who are ex Jehovah's Witness and heard a lot of
It's
stories to say that.
yeah, it's a lot. And I did not grow up in the church. I was 2 degrees removed because my mom was removed and she made sure we were removed from it. But my grandparents are still to this day very active in the church. And so
Wow.
she didn't get self expression. She didn't get to do sports. She didn't get to go on dates. She didn't get to celebrate anything that normal children were doing. So when she had kids, my older brother is a different story. He's a little harder to handle, but she instilled in me that I can do anything that I want, being the person that I am. And if it doesn't work out or it's whatever, it wasn't me. It was because, whatever factor, whatever was in my way, just wasn't accepting me for who I am. So I've always just kind of run with, okay, people are going to hate me. People are going to judge me. I have been bullied my entire life. I'm still going to do whatever the fuck I want because I'm going to bed at night with no regrets, knowing that I have done everything in my power to be my best self.
What did your mom do to instill that level of confidence? Because that's incredibly rare. And knowing you the little bit that I have, it's very palpable. Your confidence is always shining through. It shines through in your social media. It shines in anybody who meets you. You just have this charisma and energy. And as somebody who grew up really religious, I probably resonate maybe more with your mom, at least growing up. So I'm curious, like, what are the things that she did that really helped instill that as you're growing up?
Honestly, a lot of it was just that repetitive talk of, Morgan, you can do anything. Like, I did not have a great home life, but that was the one area that my mom never messed up. My mom was my biggest supporter from day one. Mom, I want to be a dancer at 3 years old. Great. We're going to put you in dance classes. Mom, I want to be an Olympic swimmer. Great. We're going to get you into Olympic trials and we're going to get you into the Junior Olympics, which almost did, but then my coach went crazy and that was a whole thing. But my mom really just talk, you have to create a habit by doing the same thing every day. So for 18 years, almost every single day it was, Morgan, you are unstoppable. Morgan, you can do anything you can set your mind to, because not only do I believe that, but I'm going to make sure that that happens. My mom is my biggest cheerleader still to this day. I mean, I'm like, hey, mom, I have this crazy idea. And she's like, do it. Hell yeah. And I'm like, okay, great. So she's just really taken what she didn't get as a child, which was affirmations, positive self-talk, and really poured that into me. I am her baby. She got to see what went wrong with my brother and how to make those minor adjustments to talk to me. And granted, I'm a girl, I'm sure I was easier in some ways emotionally because she could relate to me in ways that she couldn't relate to my brother. But I also think I have a very open heart. Like, I'm very curious and very giving the benefit of the doubt to people. So when my mom is like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, my Delulu brain, I'm like, yeah, I can do whatever I want. I'm going to meet these people and network and like get my toes indoors that I have I shouldn't be in this room, but here I am doing the thing just because my mom gave me a big head and told me that I could do
it. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad she gave you that big head. I
I
guess
thank
that
her
goes to a
every
question.
day.
Awesome. That goes to a question I had is you started your entrepreneurship journey at 19, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, it is.
So what was that like?
19.
What was that like trying to start a business at 19 years old?
Confusing. I always knew I was never going to be an employee. Granted, I was working, I got my first job at 14, was being paid under the table as a hostess. I loved working front of house, it's so fun, but I always knew I was not meant to work for somebody else. I am very sassy. I don't really like to be told what to do. So I always felt that resistance between me and authority figures, whether it was my principal or it was my manager or it was a general manager. There was always this weird, like, well, you signed my paycheck, but I don't respect you type of thing. Like, I don't know. So my mom, I had a full ride to go to NC State with a psychology scholarship, and I was going to go do all of these things. And she said, you should be a massage therapist. I had never even had a freaking massage. And I'm like, I don't want to touch people all day. That sounds gross. Like, feet are disgusting. Like, I don't want to do that. I got a massage. I fell in love with it. And like the next day, we went and signed me up for massage school. So I graduated high school in June of 2016, and I graduated massage school May of 2017. So it was a 6-month turnaround, and I had my license. I'm pretty sure I'm still the youngest person to ever go through my massage school, which is the Center of Massage and Natural Healing in Asheville. Crazy. And I was really scared. I had this thought of, I'm going to be this business owner, and I'm the cute local girl, so everyone's going to support me, and like I'm going to be really successful. I didn't give massages for 2 months after I graduated. Wow. I just couldn't do it. I don't know if there was this, I'm sure there was a lot of fear mentality and a lot of blockage of like, you can't just stop getting a paycheck from Chili's and then have no money. What if you're only doing one massage a week? At that time, I was charging $60 for a massage. Like, that's not even enough to fill my car up at the time. Like, how was I going to do that? So I had this mentor. She owned a business. She's like, come work for me. I'll $25 a day as your rent. You pay me what you need. You take my overflow clients. And I failed. I just couldn't do it. For some reason, the thought of leaving Chili's for even one day to go market or network or just put my face in the community made me want to throw up in a lot of ways. It was really scary for me to market myself. And I think a lot of that was because we're not taught that in massage school. Nobody is taught how to be an entrepreneur. Hell, you're barely even taught how to be an employee. It's a lot of, here's massage science, here are your techniques and modalities, now you have to fend for yourself. We're not going to teach you how to build an establishment. We're not going to teach you how to build a reputation. You have to figure that out on your own. So I crumbled, and after 2 months, I was like, I'm not meant to be a massage therapist. This is the worst decision I've ever made. And my mom's like, okay, I think you're being a little dramatic. Let me help you, which is so funny because my mom is not an entrepreneur. She has always worked for other people, and it's beautiful. I don't want to get too much on a tangent, but she's just now starting her entrepreneur journey, and so now I get to help her with it, which has been like this really rewarding, like full circle moment. But so anyway, all of that happens. I totally flop my first business, and I find this place called Cosmic Groove. It's no longer a thing, but it was a massage. I always want to say parlor, and I feel that sounds like a dirty word when I say it with the word massage. But it was just a business for massage. We were not employees. We were what I would call intrapreneurs. We're like, they give you the clientele, but it's up to you to maintain it and still do your own advertising and whatever. So through that business model, I got to see how to be a business owner, and more specifically, how to be a body working business owner, because it's very different from owning a sporting goods store. They're two very different things. And during COVID, a lot of things happened. The world shut down. Cosmic Groove closed its doors. They said, we don't want to do this anymore. We've been doing it for 20 years. Good luck. And me, being me and getting to see some of this, I really, really soaked in what Charles, the owner, all of the good things he did and all of the not so great things he did. Great person, really bad business owner. And so I got to see a lot of those mistakes. I was his bookkeeper, so I got to see a lot of the money that was coming in and out of the business, and why were we so upside down, and why were you having such a hard time paying us when there was clearly money coming in? You just didn't know what to do with it. And so when everything happened during COVID, I took that as my shot of like, okay, the world is quiet. You need to be as loud as you can fucking be. And so I took 2 months off because state regulation, massage therapists were not allowed to work, and I was not about to get my license taken away. So I took 2 months. And in those 2 months, people were learning how to make bread and people are doing all these things. I got really serious about my business. What do I need to do to make sure that this feeling never happens again? Because I don't like the feeling of what's happening next. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I want to be successful. How am I going to do that? Because I've always said I'm going to be the first person in my family that's a millionaire. At this point, I was 21. How the hell am I going to make that happen? Like, let's get on it. So COVID comes and goes. I start renting a studio space from a hair salon, which, side note, if you're a massage therapist and you're listening to this, don't ever work at a hair salon. They're very different environments. Hair stylists, especially in the South, are very catty. It's very high school drama. Everybody wants to know your business. Oh, we're in a small town, so you better act like we're best friends, but in public, I'm not even gonna act like I know you type of situation. Like, it's very toxic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I just don't think if you are an authentic massage therapist, someone who's dealing with other people's energy, you just don't need to be in that environment. You don't need other people competing with you or trying to tear you down because they feel some type of way about themselves and their business. Just stick with your own people. It's really just easier that way. But the hair salon was probably one of my biggest successes because I was their only massage therapist for a long time. So I was able to really network and market and put my foot in the door. And also, I hope none of them are listening to this, but all of them were really bad at social media before I came along. And then they saw how I posted every day and repeated posts. Like, one of my biggest successes, and it's my claim, I swear, is you have to be annoying. If you have a service that you're trying to show people you can do, you have to use your social media. Like, I am in a small town, and a definition of a small town is 10,000 people or less. I am in a town of 10,000 people or less. I had, at the time, 2,000 followers. Now I'm closer to 3. And for a town of 10,000 people, 2,000 followers is a lot of followers. Like, I'm not an influencer. I don't have a big following, but I have a big following and an influence in my town. And so I know how to use that to my advantage. I was constantly marketing to all of my 55 and up clients on my Facebook, and I'm constantly talking to the athletes that I used to dance with or swim with. If you don't market yourself and oversaturate yourself and everyone else's feed, how the fuck is anyone going to know what you do? They're going to continue to scroll until the second they need you. And if you are posting every single day that you're a therapist and you have openings, or you're this and you have that, one day they're going to see it and they're going to remember you, and they're going to either share or book. And that is how your reputation is built. And I swear, like, that is how I've built my business, is by just being annoying. Like, I was the most annoying person on my Facebook and my Instagram every day. I'm like, come get a massage. Hey, I'm still here. Come get a massage. Hey, I still have openings. You want to come get a massage? And it works. I'll never forget, I don't know if this came up during our time in Texas. John told me during my whole, car accident, it was a really horrible time for me trying to get to Texas. He said, if you want to turn around, that's okay. Like, turn around. And I'm like, I'm not turning around. Like, I'm coming to this fucking thing. And I'm messaging him, and, you know, I finally get there, and he pulls me aside, and he says, you know, I was looking back through our messages, and you messaged me 6 times before I finally messaged you back, because him and I had met at an event a few months prior to that. And he was like, send me a message on Instagram, and we'll get the ball rolling to get you to this workshop. Well, Mr. Influencer didn't ever see any of my messages because, you know, he does so many questions. His thing is just flooded with DMs. And so I'm like, hey, I really want to come to your thing. Hey, I still really want to come to your thing. Do you remember me? Like, I really want to come.
And I want to pay you money and give you things.
Right. Like, I'm literally trying to give you money, and, like, you're ignoring me. So all of that happens. I get into the car accident. I still end up going to the workshop. John pulls me aside, and he's like, I just have to tell you. He said, persistence is one of my favorite qualities in any human, and you are probably the most persistent person I have ever met. He said, you don't give up. He said, when you want something, you go after it. And I'm like, yeah, John, I do. You're so right. Wow. And ever since then, just hearing him give me that feedback of like, hey, the right people will be receptive to this. And granted, that was only 2 years ago, but even that has really changed the way that I view how I show up. Oh, you think that I'm annoying, but the right person is going to see this as me doing what I need to do to show up the right way. And that is always going to pay for itself.
That was one of the questions I had, kind of circling back around to the multidimensional aspect of yourself and all of your, you know, your posts, almost more, I would say, about your pole dancing now than you do about your massage. And so I'm curious, how has the amount of self-expression, the more dynamic self-expression on your Instagram, on all your socials, et cetera, how has it changed your business? How has it changed how you interact with your business and your clients, et cetera?
So I, at first, was a little nervous to start posting more about pole dancing, not for any reason other than, unfortunately, I am a pretty girl in a small town. So I get a lot of jokes of like, oh, you're going to give me a happy ending. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And I just really didn't want to deal with that. I really just didn't want, oh, so you're a stripper. And, oh, can I get this? Like, I just didn't want any of that. But it really came down to, this isn't for anyone else. I am really proud of the things that I can do on a pole. And I want to show that to myself and the people who genuinely care about the human behind this Instagram account. Because I am just a human. I do have a successful business and I do have this reputation, but I am just a meat sack, just like you. I have emotions and feelings and thoughts, and I feel like a lot of people forget that when someone does have an established reputation of like, oh, you should just always have the answers. You should always have yourself together. So when I really decided, okay, I'm stepping out of my close friends and I'm actually making public posts, I was like, oh my God, there are going to be scandals about me that I am a prostitute, and like, this is going to totally blow up my reputation. But it was actually really amazing. 2 days ago, wait, what day is it? It's Wednesday. Yesterday, 1 day ago, one of my clients was on my table, and he's actually one of my biggest supporters in all aspects of my life. His wife follows me on Instagram, and she sees everything that I post. And he said, so my wife was talking about you doing those tricks on the pole, like you're flipping yourself upside down and you're getting really consistent and like really, really good. I said, yeah, thank you so much. And he goes, I think that makes you a better massage therapist. And I said, oh, could you actually elaborate on that? Because I agree, but I would love to hear someone else's perspective as to why you think me doing this makes me a better therapist. And he said basically my exact thought of like, you showing up in your authenticity and allowing people to view you as a human. Not only does it make us realize you're a human and you deserve to be treated like a human, but it shows us that you are constantly optimizing all areas of your life and you are practicing what you preach, because you tell us to go out and, do the homework you give us and really try and change our lives. And then we go on our Instagram and we see our therapist actually doing those things, it makes us more excited to show up because you are showing up. I was like, oh my God, that's actually really amazing. Like, wow, thank you so much. Because that's exactly how I look at it. I am not like this 24/7. I am not constantly talking in a soft voice and, really trying to, pamper you and see what's going on. I'm a real person who is pretty rigid most of the time when it comes to like, I'm sharper with my tone and I cuss a lot and like, I'm an excited person. I have a lot of energy. And it's nice that people are open to that. Yes, people think that I'm a stripper. Yes, people think that I'm a prostitute. But the right people, the people whose money that I am taking and love and respect, do not see me that way. They see me as a person expressing all parts of my body, whether that's in the massage room, being able to stretch and lift a grown man's leg like it's nothing, or I'm flipping myself upside down on a pole in a bikini. I'm the same person. I am the same person. It's just, are you willing to respect me?
Beautiful. With the increase in, I would assume, the amount of, happy ending questions or jokes or those kinds of things, have you had to change how you vet potential clients or that kind of thing? Have you had to deal with anything on that end?
So I'm actually pretty fortunate because I am a pretty abrasive person. It takes people one or two times to realize I am not the one to make a joke like that with. I don't take jokes lightly when it comes to my practice because you didn't pay for my schooling. You don't get to just make jokes about how I run my business. So I've only ever had one genuine problem that the cops were called and it was this whole thing and like whatever.
Whoa.
But yeah, it was crazy. I was also like 19 when that happened, so I was fresh out of massage school and like terrified of everything. But the feedback I got from the police, the owner, all of the other therapists, that I handled that the best way that anybody possibly could. And I actually ended up teaching a class to other therapists on how to express your boundaries in a moment of like danger. Because I'm really good at it, apparently. But fortunately, that does not happen very often. I have been doing this long enough that people do respect me as a massage therapist and do understand that what I do is borderline medicinal and has helped more people than most doctors ever will. But I actually have made a few adjustments in my intake form, because the second you schedule a massage with me, if you haven't scheduled in the past, you will be emailed. It's like a 7-page intake form. And the last page I have very specifically curated to say, if you have found me through my Instagram, and I put my Instagram, and if you make any sort of sexual comment related to my pole dancing or massage, you will be blacklisted and you will not be asked to come back and you will still have to pay full price for everything. And that pretty much nips it in the butt of like, if you make a comment, your ass is getting kicked out and you are still paying me full price. And most people aren't going to take that risk, especially with a highly high ticket service like mine.
How much do you charge for a massage at this point?
So I charge $100 an hour, which is just I think it's like $20, $25 above average for my state. It's about $80, $85 an hour is the average. It's $130 for an hour and a half, and it's $250 for a 2-hour. And surprisingly, 2 hours are one of my more scheduled sessions. So
nice.
Yeah. But you get so much in that. I am certified in so many different things. I am constantly taking classes on anatomy, and I'm constantly traveling to like get more modalities and do all the things. So the price is definitely worth it. This is not to sound cocky, but I am definitely one of the best, if not the best therapist in Western North Carolina, because I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for you. Every massage is curated to your needs, what you're doing before and after this massage. And I don't know, I just really love it so much.
Yeah, no, I can tell. I love that. Like, when you say it's curated to you, and that was something I noticed even about your posts, and it was actually something I had a massage recently that was the best massage I've ever had, and she had a very similar vibe to you, I would say, in that she was like, oh, this is really about you and your body in a very unique, experience, I'm curious, like what is it that you're looking for? Like what do you take in the intake to identify those unique things about that person when you're to create that awesome massage experience?
So that's actually, this is funny, and I'm glad I get to talk about this. Your intake form, I look at it maybe one time, and then I don't look at it again. I think the intake form is a legality, and after that, I think it's pointless. I don't care what happened to you 10 years ago. I don't care about your past surgeries unless they were in the last couple of months, because what I'm doing is right now. I understand that the body holds trauma, and like there are all of these things that do matter for the intake form, which is why we have it. But I am worried about you right now. How did you get here, and how can we make you better? So I have the intake form. I'm going to walk you through coming to get a massage with me. So you book a massage online. You will get an email that says, "Hi, I'm so excited to work with you. Please take 5 or 10 minutes to just fill this intake form out so that I can get comfortable with your body before we end up meeting." It will basically have a sheet that says, "Hey, this is the human body. Please circle the areas that that are normally hurting you, the areas that you want specific attention to." You'll list all of your medications, past surgeries, when your last massage was, all of that fun stuff. I look at that one time, maybe twice if you've got some there are a few medicines that are contraindicated with massage, so I'll double check those and make sure I'm not going to bruise you or you're not going to bleed out on my table, anything crazy like that. Just never happened.
That'd be good.
Never happened.
Probably a good thing.
So
Yeah.
when you come in, there is a whole assessment that happens. It is different person to person. If I have seen you, I have some clients who have been with me since the day I got my license, so I've known them for 7 years. We don't do this every day because I know their bodies a little more intimately. But for a new client, for the first couple of months, we will come in and have the intake is the only part that is always the same. I always want to test your range of motion. I always want to talk about your mental state, your energetic state, really see how things are going. And then we get really personal. Like, I am the therapist that I'm like, this is a metaphysical experience. Like, I am not only manipulating your muscle tissue, like this is going to release a lot energetically. So I need to know that we can have an open and free dialogue, because even with a plan, things change. And I need to know that you're comfortable with me being able to make executive decisions in that moment to fit the need of something that might be coming up because you didn't even know it existed. Because 90% of the time, I will find something, either physically or energetically, you had no idea was there. And that's why you come to see me. Like, I am intuitive. There's always a word that I always forget. I can't. Whatever. It'll come back to me. But, so yeah,
Can you say,
what?
what were you say?
Well, I don't remember now.
Okay, no, sorry about that. No, I was just gonna ask, like, can you share more about that? Like, what kinds of things are you finding when you start a massage and you're going? Obviously, there could be like a muscle, but you also talked about like kind of a metaphysical or an energetic component. Like, what can you give an example or a story of something that you have maybe seen before, or what you're experiencing?
Yeah, so something that happens pretty regularly for me, and I have talked to a lot of energy workers about this, so if any of you are listening and have any advice, please, my DMs are open. Okay, let me back up. I was trained in energy work at 8 years old. I had my first Reiki session when I was 8, and it was the most amazing thing I have ever been a part of. I have always been very, very spiritual, and my mom knew that at a really young age, so she really let me, again, Jehovah's Witness, crazy, she really let me lean into this, yeah, do what feels good, like if you want to be woo-woo-y and get your feet in the mud and like do whatever you want to do. So when I am massaging, I get into a flow. You get into your flow state, hopefully, and you're just doing your own thing. You're thinking about, okay, he said his neck was hurting and his left knee has been bothering him, and oh, don't forget about that toe. You're thinking about those things. But 90%, like 99% of the time, and I still can't explain it in a proper, educational, smart way. there will be a time I will be working on, let's say, Cameron, oh my God, oh, my neck, I just haven't been able to sleep for weeks and I can't turn my neck. I just need you to work on that, right? I'll be working on your neck and I will hit a spot in your, let's see, if your neck is bothering you, your QL might be your problem, which is like right down in here. That's all connected. So let's just say your neck's bothering you, but I'm working down in your back. I experience, I don't know how to explain this without it sounding insane. Sometimes I hit a spot, not at all related to an area that you think is your problem, and I will get TV static start going off in both of my temples. Will just start, and I am not exaggerating. When I hit that spot and my temples start going, that's when the client goes, oh my God, you just released it. How did you do that? You weren't even on the spot. I don't know. It's almost like my hands are a magnet and they will find what's wrong, which is why the intake is so important to me of like, let's look at your range of motion. I will have someone walk in front of me a few times so that I can watch their gait, because people don't realize everything is connected. So if your toe is causing you to walk with your foot like this, that entire leg is fucked up, which means your entire back is fucked up, which means your shoulders are fucked up, which means your neck is fucked up. Like, it's all connected. And because you generally, not you specifically, are so focused on your immediate pain point, you're not thinking about, oh, this hurts, so I've been hunching over and I've been tucking my pelvis, and like that's why I'm not doing what I need to be doing, because I'm not holding myself right. So that's where I come in. I really get into the nitty-gritty of explaining to people, this is not a neck problem. This is a you don't know how to support yourself problem, which is now causing your neck to take on the load, which makes you think you have neck problems. And you don't. You have shitty posture. So I've created this beautiful, I say created loosely because I have mentors that have done this before me, but I am creating my own integration of this. I call it personal training on the table. You and I will both be sweating by the time you get off the table because there is a lot of resistance in my massages. So, great example, let's say you're having sciatic pain, which is actually something I got to demonstrate during the massage competition, which got me some pretty high points with my sports massage judge who, that's a whole nother story. But let's say you come in, you're like, oh, I'm having some sciatic pain. It's making my back hurt, but it's definitely making my leg hurt. I feel it all the way down my leg to my toe. I'm like, okay, great. This is going to be crazy. We're going to do things that I am engaging your quads the entire time. So if you're laying face down, one of the best quad stretches you can do is to pull your foot to your side or to your glute, and that'll engage your hamstring or your quads. So what I do is I make that a little more spicy. I find your range of motion and I push you to that, ooh, I feel it, but then I have you push against me. So I am laying my body weight on them, and for 30 seconds, I am having them push and push and push against me. They release, and then they can go even further because I have loosened their body up because we've been activating and stabilizing over just trying to get you to relax. Our bodies don't want to relax. We need constant stress in our bodies. Our bodies can tell the difference between good stress and bad stress. We need, our muscles crave that push and that pull and that pumping of synovial fluid into our spinal cord. Like, we need that. And if all we're doing is expecting somebody to massage our lymph and get our circulation going, we're not doing any of that. We're not pushing anything. There's no pulling happening. So our bodies are not getting what they need. So I make sure we're going to work you out. We're going to get your blood pumping, but we're also going to relax, because I am a big believer You know, I'm sure there are a million studies that prove a lot of strength does come from your rest period. But if you're not optimizing your performance, you can't optimize your recovery. So I like to do, if it's a 90-minute session, 30 minutes of that, you are working. It's not full 30 minutes. It's not, nonstop. There's a lot of integration and breath work and like, okay, we're switching gears. But that's how I've really seen a lot of that improvement the most is from, yeah, we're going to work you out. We're going to make you do something you would have never even considered in a massage. And because of that, people have avoided surgeries. I now have clients with full range of motion again. They're sleeping through the night with no cramps. Like, there's science behind this. Like, it's not just woo-woo. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. That's awesome. One of the questions that came up for me while you were asking that or talking about that was how you said the person isn't supporting themselves. I'm curious because I know sometimes there is a connection between, say, the body and that person's life. And is that part of what you're seeing as well? That it's also that they're not, supporting themselves in life as well. Like they're not really, I know sometimes it's like with sciatica or that kind of thing. It's sometimes that is the case where it's like you're not feeling supported by the people in your life or however that is. Is that something that your therapy gets into at all? Like, do you end up just talking about that kind of stuff? I know you mentioned like energetic releases and stuff or big emotional releases on the table. Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am trauma informed, which is, I think anyone in any sort of service or body work should get trauma informed because it's so important to know how our bodies process and hold on to things because unfortunately we are holding on to trauma from our childhood. It's just a simple
Mm-hmm.
fact. Yes, how do I want to say that? I'll just give you an example. I have this client. He'll have no problem with me talking about him. His name is Andrew. He is amazing, and he has been with me for 7 years. 7 years this man has been with me. When we met, he was 400 pounds. He was in terrible shape. He was existing, not living. He'd work all day, sit on his couch all night. He could just tell, like, he has a 10-year-old son. I don't know if he's 10 now or was 10 back then, but he's got a son. And he was like, I don't want to give this lifestyle to him. What can I do? I said, okay. Me being a sensitive person, are you actually asking me that? Or do you want me to, be soft with you and just hold space for you? Or do you want me to give you some tough love? Like, what do you want? And he's like, no, I want you to be honest. And I said, okay, you keep living the way you're living, you're dead in 10 years. You want me to be honest, you need to think about your son. What do you want to do right now? Do you want shoulder mobility? Do you want to play on the ground with your son? Or do you want to sit on the couch and continue feeling bad about yourself? He's like, I really want to change. And I said, great. The first thing you could do, continue to get your massages with me. That's great. Get physical. Do something with your body. You are going from work to the couch. You have to do something that you're letting your body somatically let go of that work day. For the last 6 years, he has been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and has lost almost 200 pounds. He had changed his entire diet. He still comes to see me once a month. We have gotten complete 99% range of motion back in both of his shoulders. He is doing the splits, no problem. I watched this man change his life because he had a decent massage. And that is probably one of the most rewarding things that I can think about.
That's really cool to hear. So it's what I'm hearing is that with you and your massage, and even the way you think about it and how you approach it, it's really not just any kind of massage that I've ever gotten where it's a lot of get on the table, leave, can you please tip me, that kind of thing. But it's really this investment into this person's life and well-being and a personal transformation as well as the physical one that you're providing them. Was that part of your plan from the beginning, or is that something that you were like, oh, I've like stumbled into something? How? Because that does not sound like any sort of normal massage school type training that I could imagine someone is typically teaching. So where and how did you get to that point?
Yeah, so that kind of goes back into in massage school being taught that we're not supposed to connect with our clients. I did have this idea going into it that no, I want to be so platonically in love and involved with all of my clients that it will physically hurt us to break up with each other if anything has
Mm,
to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I
yeah.
genuinely love all of my clients. And granted, I do have some clients that they come in, they get a massage, we don't talk, and they leave. Sure, that's probably 2% of my clientele. The people
Mhm.
who come to me for me, who are not, family referrals or a gift certificate that somebody bought, they know that this is a 365 spiritual appointment. Like, this isn't just getting rubbed and leaving. This is, hey, I know that true healing comes from talking about uncomfortable shit and actually processing it real time. I just happen to be a non-biased soundboard. Because at the end of the day, I do love my clients. I'm not committed to your outcome. If you aren't going to take what I'm giving you seriously, I'm not going to kill myself to get you to listen to me. It will resonate with who it needs to resonate with. And that has just been proven to me over and over again that the more love I pour into my career and knowledge and education and clients, the more receptive and open they are to being open, to being perceived and being read and allowing somebody else to come in and assist them in healing. That's something I always tell my clients. It's like, I don't do anything. I show up and I rub your body and we have a conversation. But you allowing me to do that and being open-minded enough to let somebody into your body is the first step in having your healing journey start. Like, really, if you can do as much internal work by yourself as much as you want, but you have to let an external force come and touch your body to really get into that nitty gritty of like, oh, actually, this kind of touch does make me feel uncomfortable. Oh, intimacy really scares me. Why can I have this conversation with you, but I haven't been able to have this conversation with my wife of 40 years? Like, let's unpack that. Like, let's talk about the things that make us human, because I'm a human and you're a human and you have totally different life experiences than me. I bet you we can help each other because I'm completely different from you and I've had my own crazy life experiences. Let's talk. Let's get real. Like, that's how healing happens, is by being raw.
Yeah. When you're talking with clients, is it typically kind of like you talked about the intake aspect, not necessarily the paper form intake, but when they're first coming in and then you go into massage and then you maybe have a conversation afterwards, or are you having a conversation with them the entire time throughout the massage experience? Or does
Depending
it
on the
differ from
client,
Mhm.
depending on who it is and what we're doing, I'm talking the whole time. Like, one of my
Mhm.
clients, one of my biggest supporters, the one whose wife follows me on Instagram, him and I love my clients because they trust me so much. I'm like, hey, I know you said you have this problem. We've been working on it for this long. I just did some research and like I just had an idea. I don't know if it's gonna work. Can we try it? And he's like, whatever you like, please do whatever you want to me. And I'm like, don't worry, we're gonna talk the whole time. If it feels wrong or it hurts, like, let me know and we'll move away. But I'm very open with all of my clients. Hey, I don't know everything, and your body is unique to my body. Let's
Mhm.
experiment. Let me try new things with you, because that's how innovation happens. That's how we find these breakthrough techniques that are going to last a lifetime, that are going to make us respected medical professionals. Let me use your body, please.
So when you're with a client and you have something where you mentioned you might touch somebody's body and then they're starting to realize that, oh, that is making me uncomfortable, or there's these pieces that are, kind of mentioned, like touching into your trauma informed education and those kinds of pieces. Like, what do you do in that situation? Is it you just start working with them and talking with them about those kinds of pieces? Are you working to work around that part of their body more gently? Like, how do you approach that kind of a situation?
So it definitely depends on what the response is. Most
Mhm.
of the responses that I get, I actually don't have too many emotional releases, but the few that I have had, I am just very transparent with them. Hey, I see that your body is experiencing something, whether it's, you're starting to shift a lot. I can feel you fighting back because, believe it or not, I know this is crazy. We can feel when you tense your muscles. And that blows my clients' minds. They're like, you can feel that? And I'm like, what do you mean? If I did this, you can't see my muscle flex? Like, yeah, of course I can feel your fucking butt cheek. Like, what do you mean? Relax, breathe. So depending on
Mhm.
what's happening, I will walk them through that. I have had a client who had a lot of trauma. And so she had to look at me the entire massage. So, normally you're face down. She had to have her head turned so that she could watch me. And there was always a moment, she had lower back problems, but there's a lot of trauma in that whole area. So when I would start working on it, she would get really uncomfortable. I would turn on, so I have two dimmable lights on either end of my studio. I would turn both of those all the way up. I would move the mirror to a spot that she could see me, and I would say, hey, I am right here. My hands are right here. I am not going to do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. And if it is uncomfortable, I am challenging you to sit with it and talk to me about it. Let's figure out, is this an emotional thing? Is this a physical thing? Or is this a trauma response? How do we get your nervous system to recognize you are in a safe space and I am not going to take advantage of you or abuse you or do any of those past experiences that your body is now reliving? Let's just work with it. I will get lavender essential oil and I'll have her breathe it in a little bit. I'll just sit there and I'll touch her head so that she can see and feel that my hands are in a safe space, and we'll just breathe together. Like, it's very situational. I've had clients that have bursted into tears and I've just said, would you like to get dressed and just sit on the table together and talk? And that's all we did. Sometimes massage is not massage. There is so much more that goes into it, which is why I am so adamant about getting trauma informed. I don't give a fuck how long you've been doing massage. We should all have some sort of degree in psychology, some sort of certification, because you are messing with people's energy. And that brings up a lot of shit. You don't know what that person went through as a child. You don't know if they are married to a monster. Like, you have to hold this space for somebody and allow them to show up as they are. So it's all very intentional, whether it's I'm just going to hold you, or there's even an opposite where sometimes I've had somebody get angry with me, not with me, angry, more excited is maybe a better term. Like, I could feel them getting amped up, I could feel their energy ramping, and in that moment, because I'm a little bit, hold on, I always get the word wrong. What's the one that the person likes causing pain to other people?
Masochist, or no, a
Masochist.
sadist.
Sadist.
Masochist
Okay,
likes to receive pain, sadist likes to give pain. Yeah.
so this is where my slight sadist tendencies come in, which is why my clients love me so much. When I see the response of somebody getting antsy or a little more exaggerated, I will go deeper into the massage. I will dig my elbow into that area because it forces them to stop feeling that emotion and actually think about what's happening in their body. And it's this really cool dance of them really wanting to fight me, but really leaning into this pain. And it's this like, it's so rewarding for, like, I get this crazy smile on my face when I think about it, but it's like, I'm hurting you with a purpose, because now you're not thinking about that. You're letting me process this energy real time in your body. And when you get off the table, that whole emotion is going to be processed through now. And like, that's such a cool thing to walk somebody through.
How do you take care of yourself when you're taking on or dealing with at least so much different energy and different types of people, and you are obviously very sensitive and take in a lot with people, so how do you manage that for yourself so you're not walking out of these massages and just being like, I just want to die and not do anything anymore and become a couch person yourself?
So this is going to be like a really stupid answer, but I will elaborate deeper on it.
Okay.
I am meant to do this job. And that's like the best way that I can answer that. I know a lot of therapists who have confided in me with, oh my God, I work out 5 days a week. I pole dance 3 days a week, and I massage 5 days a week. I have so much energy. Like, I don't feel depleted after a work day. And I don't mean that in like, I know you've heard me say like, I'm a natural crackhead and like, I don't need drugs because I have so much energy. I don't mean that in that way. I genuinely mean at the end of my workday, I'm not exhausted. I'm not tired, because I genuinely love what I do, and I was designed to be doing this job. And also, I do the recovery things to make sure that I'm not burning myself out. Because I love my job so much, I am so aware that I need to be 100%, which is where a lot of my energy training has really paid off. Because you're actually taught in massage school, there are 2 types of energies that we learn about, and it's countertransference and transference. What I perceive, that is transference. What a client receives and perceives is countertransference. So, easy definition example, if I remind you of your ex-girlfriend who was emotionally abusive to you, you are going to hate getting a massage from me because you are only going to associate me with her. Whereas vice versa, let's say you remind me of my brother who we don't have a great relationship and I can't work on you because all I look at is him. That's transference. So in school, we are actually taught pretty in detail how to manage our energy so that we're not soaking in your energy, but we're also not giving ours away. And a lot of that came with learning about transference and countertransference and how I am actually in control of both of our energy in this room. I am the one who has the power to energetically make a decision of, okay, I'm going to allow you to basically be an energy vampire and suck everything out of me, or vice versa, I'm going to suck all of your energy out of you. No, we were taught, and I think I picked up on this incredibly well because I am such a visual person. We were taught, so fun fact with Morgan, all of your nerves land in your hands, your feet, and your ears. That's why reflexology is really cool, because you can give a full body massage with your hands, with just the hands, just the feet, and just the ears. Like, I don't even have to touch the rest of your body. If I gave you a whole massage right here, you would feel it everywhere. And that's really cool. Wow. So the point of that little fun tidbit is because your hands, when you're massaging, should be turned on 100%. One day you will know, when I give someone a massage, my hands are freezing all the time. Like, they're cold right now. But when I am massaging, my hands get so hot because so much energy is not coming out of them, but concentrated in my hands. And we were taught in school when we were learning how to, turn our energy on and feel all that. I know that's kind of woo-woo-y, but we were learning all of that. We were taught to envision our hands as a window. And when you're massaging, the window is always open. So every time I touch you, my hands might be cultivating a lot of energy, but all of your energy is immediately going out the window. So I'm not even absorbing any of your energy because I have made it so clear to my energetic state that I am not open to receiving your energy, and I'm also not open to giving my energy away. I am only open to being a window that allows your energy to move out and away. And so that's how I can not feel so exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, if you were going to teach somebody how to do that, like where would you begin?
Oh, there would have to be a lot of visualization first. I think looking back at massage school and the people I was in class with, so I was the youngest person in my school. But I was also everyone in my class except for me and one other girl. Everyone else was in their 50s. They were on their third or fourth career, learning how to do this again. I had an upper hand in already being trained in energy. I think if you don't know how to visualize, which a lot of people don't actually know how to use visualization as an enhancement tool, they just like to daydream and get lost in a fake reality. If you actually learn how to visualize and you actually learn how to feel your own energy, that is when you can start playing with this idea of, oh, now I can actually manipulate my energy, not even your energy. I can manipulate my own, and I can determine it all goes into my hands at one time, or it's in my triple burners going throughout my whole body. I think I would start with your awareness to yourself. Because if you are unaware of what your body is doing, you are never going to be able to control your energy. It's very similar to Qigong. If you're familiar with anything in Qigong of literally cultivating your energy and learning how to move with it and how to expand it and bring it in, that is a great place to start. Really learning the basics of Qigong will really help you be able to share your energy with others, hold it back in, all those things.
Yeah. So with regard to visualization, what if you were going to teach somebody how to do that from the beginning, and say you have like a student and they're going to learn visualization from you, what would be like the 3 tips that you would start them off with?
3. My first one that comes into mind is you have to engage all 5 senses. So practicing visualization is a very strong mental tool. And using your brain in a way that is not physically seen can be really challenging for some people. Like I tell people all the time, okay, close your eyes and let's think about where you want to be in 5 years. So we're talking about massage. Let's say, oh my God, you just got your license. I'm so excited for you. We're about to start your entrepreneur journey. Let's figure this out. Where do you want to be? What are the smells that you want to be able to smell in that lifestyle? Whether it's a high-end cologne, a specific candle that makes you think of success, the way you want your massage room to smell, tastes. What are you eating when you're on break, waiting for those high-end clients? What are you drinking? What are the sensations that are hitting your tongue when thinking about those things? And then you go into smell, and smell and taste are very, touch, whatever. You go through all 5 of your senses. I'm already confused on which ones I said. But you go through all 5 of those, and you sit and you really think about those 5 things and how, whatever your goal is, how can those 5 senses elevate that feeling? So when it comes to energy work, you can feel it. I don't care what anybody says. Ask any of my clients. One of my signature things is being able to release stagnant energy from people. Like, I don't know if you've ever, let's say your shoulder is bothering you. Have you ever felt that oh, something is just stuck in there and I just need to get it out, but it's not a muscle? Like you felt it and you're like, oh, that the muscle's not like tight, like what's going on, that's stagnant energy most of the time. And one of my biggest things, I don't know how I do it. I can't give my secret away, unfortunately. I'm really good at dispersing that energy. And after every stroke I do, when my hand leaves your body, you will see my arm flick off, because that flick is taking that energy with me and I'm flicking it away. So I say that to bring back in, you as the therapist should be able to feel energy. I can sense it. I've already told you I can feel it in my temples, so I know when I'm there. You can taste it. I think there is and again, this could be different for everybody. I don't know everyone's experience with this, but when I am really focused and I'm doing energy work, my mouth can become very metallic, or even like cotton mouth-y, like very just like dry and like in it, because my energy is focused on something else. My brain's not thinking about getting saliva to my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are also things to think about, of like, what is your body doing when you are intently focused on this work? Like when we're learning how to do energy work, when I'm learning how to do all of my reflexology stuff, there is a moment that it's, before you do anything to that client, you better take 10 seconds to yourself and say, this is my intention, this is my goal, and this is what's going to happen. And if you don't take that time to put that intention into that space, it's probably not going to happen, because you didn't allow yourself to drop into that visualization, to that manifestation of this reality, and allow it to hold space.
Very cool. Why do you like feet?
That's a really funny question. I love feet. Feet are so powerful. They are not only quite literally holding us up, they hold a lot of secrets to our bodies. I actually I wish I could show you, I'm looking at this chart right now. I've got a reflexology chart that has every single organ in your body mapped out on your feet. So it goes back into saying every nerve ends in your feet. They're all attached to meridian channels, to organs, to emotions, and that's so important. Excuse me. I'm also,
it's okay.
This is just a funny little side thing. I am extremely flat-footed, which has really inhibited my sports in a lot of ways. Like dance was really challenging as a child, being flat-footed. I get a lot of cramps in my feet. And so I have always taken interest in foot health. I would not necessarily say I have always loved feet. I did not learn to respect and love them until after massage school and getting to see the benefit of proper foot health and actually taking care of those bones, because you have 27 bones in your feet. That is a lot of things being intertwined and connected and twisted, and a lot can get messed up. And I have seen so many of my clients' problems start because of their feet. If your feet are messed up, you are no longer walking correctly. And if you're not walking correctly, your poor hips are so tight. And your hips are so important to your well-being, because that's where all of that emotional stuff is held. So if you've already got all of this emotional trauma on top of having poor body mechanics, you're just setting yourself up to fail. And that makes me so sad to think about, because, Americans, really anyone nowadays, but mostly Americans, like, we have the worst lifestyles out of any culture. Like, Americans are the worst. We're so fashion forward, fast paced, like instant gratification. We have to have everything now. It has to be the best. It has to be the newest. And that is not how our bodies are meant to live. Like, our brains might be ready for that, but we are still designed from this old factory setting, and our bodies like natural things. You know what I mean? So I've really learned to lean into being barefoot and having toe spacers, and I've noticed a difference in my own health with those things. And so it's made me really excited to share that with my clients, of like, oh my God, I've been doing this for myself. You know, it really goes back to practicing what you preach. And me being so curious in my own body allows me to be curious with other people's bodies and seeing. I don't know if you've ever had an hour-long foot massage. It is the most relaxing thing you will ever have done. Like, oh my God. Even if there is no benefit, it just feels fucking good to have your feet rubbed. And so getting to experience that from the giver's perception was really, really beautiful. And it really made me get over this. There's either two sides of people who like feet. You either hate them or you have a fetish. And that like really blew me out of the water of like, oh no, there is this middle ground of like, I can love and respect feet and not want to put your toes in my mouth.
Oh my God, that's, I think, one of the best answers I could have possibly imagined.
That has to be its own snippet.
Yeah, absolutely. In the story that I saw you post about how you grew to love feet, etc., you talked about initially you were grossed out by them. They're like, I'm actually gonna have to touch this, or do I have to give up on being a masseuse, basically? Was there a particular moment or a particular interaction that you had with feet, or anything that, like a particular client or a particular training session or something like that, where you're like, that you went from you to wow?
Not really, no. I do remember in massage school, the quite literally, the first thing our instructor said was not, hello, good morning, welcome to massage school, so excited. It was, okay, show of hands, who here hates feet? And I'm sure everyone's hand went up. And they said, get that out of your head right now. We're done with that belief. And so I guess really ever since then, I was like, okay, well, I get, like, going back to me being so open-minded, I was able to just be like, you know what? Okay, I guess it's time to just get this belief out of my head that people who like feet are freaks and just go for it. I have had a few experiences, not necessarily with the feet, but with the hands, which did make me realize the feet were just as important. I had a woman, it was like my second or third year as a therapist, and she came in and her hands were like this. She had really bad carpal tunnel. She couldn't open her hands. And I spent the majority of the massage working on her neck, her shoulder, her forearms, and her calves, actually. And by the end of the massage, she was able to open her hands and move them. And she was bawling her eyes out to me, like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, I haven't been able to do this in years. Like, this is amazing. And it really got me thinking, like, oh, wait a second. If I can do this with the hands, imagine what you can do with the feet. Because again, knowing what I know about the body, all of our weight is constantly being put on our feet. We are constantly neglecting them with these horrible tiny shoes and there's these terrible things. I'm like, oh my God, if the hands can get so bent out of shape and they're the most free extremity we have, what the fuck is happening to our feet? And from there, it really just set me on this journey of, okay, every single person I see it was probably like a year or something. I was like, everyone's getting a foot massage. I am doing an experiment. I am seeing what happens. And there's like 0.5%, less than 1% of people don't want their feet massaged. And it's normally because they're extremely ticklish. And like, that's valid. I get it. But it's like, I don't know. I really dove into exploring what all the foot was made out of. And again, 27 bones is a lot of bones. And there's a lot of muscles and tendons and ligaments in that. That's so fascinating. How could you not be obsessed with something like that when you're already becoming so obsessed with the human body? Like, it just comes back to me just being passionate about wanting to understand who we are.
Yeah. When you explain it like that, it makes it.
Oh, I just also remembered. I was going to say, and also, I do walk around in 8-inch heels for fun, which kills my feet. So really getting able to explore like my own myofascial release and being able to massage my own feet and things that have worked for me is always so cool to bring to my clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any favorite personal self foot care things that you love to use, whether it is like a foam ball or I use like acupressure points that I can just step on and walk on, like anything like that you really like to use? You mentioned toe spreaders, etc.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of toe spreaders. Anybody listening, go get toe spreaders right now. They are the best thing in the world, whether you're flat-footed or not, but especially if you're flat-footed. I cannot express that enough. Toe spacers are amazing. They're so good. They reset all of your bones to how they should be before we started wearing narrow shoes. So people who have like genetic bunions, which I'm learning is like a genetic thing, which is crazy. You can actually reverse that by wearing toe spacers because it pushes everything to the wide toe box. It's amazing. I also I have an acupressure mat, but I am a little bit of a masochist as well, and do just step on a very hard pointy ball and just rub my feet back and forth on it. But again, I am really hard on my feet. I go from being barefoot all day long to squeezing my feet into really tight heels. So my favorite thing to do is just rub them out. It's like a hard plastic. Like it's not formable at all. It's very hard. And I'll pair that with taking a resistance band and just like
you can demonstrate.
flexing and pointing and flexing, but I'll have the band and I'm like pulling and flexing and pointing. And that is amazing for foot health because not only are you working your ankle mobility, but you're working that toe knuckle mobility and strengthening, loosening, and you're also doing some nerve flossing, which is so important. Everybody should be nerve flossing.
What is nerve flossing?
I don't know if you've ever seen, I don't actually know the like scientific way to explain this because I do everything in layman's terms because my clients aren't educated the same way that I am. And that's something I've always found really annoying is when a professional will be like, oh, you're boo boo. I'm like, I'm not, I don't have your degree. Talk to me like a human. So I don't sound very smart when I explain these things. But so your nerves are one of the only things in your body that cannot be stretched. You cannot add elasticity to your nerves. The way that they are is the way that they are. However, they can become wound up. They can get very bunched in these little areas and stuck under things, and that can make things feel very tight. I know a great example, again, your sciatic nerve can make your hamstrings really tight and make it like you can't touch the ground, you can't do all these things because you're like, oh my God, my legs are so tight. If you just spend time flossing, so great. I know I'm kind of going everywhere in the human body, but a thing that I floss the most is my ulnar nerve, which runs down your ulnar bone in your forearm. Mine gets really tight, obviously. I'm using my forearms every day. My hands are constantly in this position, so it gets really tight. So my favorite flossing method is to have your hands, one is supine, one is pronated, and you have one of your small resistance bands, like the little tiny ones, not the big ones. You put it on your wrist and you pull that tension to where it's, fighting each other. And all you do is flip back and forth and you're flossing that nerve. So, okay, I guess this is what the question was. Flossing is basically igniting the nerve and moving away. So if you're stretching your hamstring and you bend down, you will feel, most of the time, people will feel a very intense zing go up their leg. That's your sciatic nerve. If you feel that zing, don't hold it. You want to move away. So a great flossing thing you can do for your hamstrings is to have your foot pointed and bring your foot up, and you'll feel the zing, flex, and bend. Point, up,
Hmm.
flex, bend. And all you're doing is igniting that nerve and moving away from it. And you're letting it open and close and open and close. So by the time you do 10 or 20, you have opened that leg up, and now you can actually go deeper into your stretch, and you're not feeling that zing, and you've awakened a few things and moved things back to where they should be, basically. That's why if you've ever seen people meditating, they'll do it based on these fingers. Those do mean things in meditating, but they're also different flossing for different nerves. Like this is a great flossing for parts of your wrist. And like I do hip flossing every day, where I'm like, going in circles with my hips. You go back and forth. Yeah, very fun.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What is a massage competition, and how does one win a massage competition?
Oh man. Okay, so massage competitions are really cool. We do not have one in every state. We're working on it. It's really hard to find a director in every state. But the oldest massage competition, I'm pretty sure, it's either the world massage competition or the Americans. And either of those, I'm not sure which, have been going on for 7 years. Most state competitions are 2 to 3 years old. So they're still very new. And it's very exciting. So you do have to pay to enter. It is like most competitions. If you want to be in a Spartan race, you have to pay for it. If you want to go to a pole competition, you have to send an audition and, pay for your spot. So you just have to pay. The cool thing about competing is as long as you have one state license, so I have my North Carolina license, I can compete in any state. But the catch to that is you can only win if you're from that state. So if I compete in South Carolina and hypothetically I am the highest scoring person, I will not win because I don't have a South Carolina license. So it will go to the person in the South Carolina realm of things. But my score, this is where it gets really cool. So, okay, let me back up. Everything is based on an 85-point scale, which is really cool. And the person getting the massage is not the judge. Let me make that so clear. Everybody's like, I want to be a judge. And I'm like, well, you got so messed up because that is not what that is. So you have judges walking around while you're massaging. There are 4 categories. And then within those 4 categories, there are subcategories, but only for 2 categories. So you have your clinical, which is fucking intense. You have open category, which is where you have your subcategories of Western, Eastern, sports, wellness, facials, whatever, but that's all lumped into one. You have Swedish, which there's classical Swedish, which is European style, which is different from the Swedish we do in America. And then there's one more. Oh, student. There's a student category. So if you've gotten your license a year or less, you can compete in the student category. If you're a student, I recommend doing that because not a lot of students compete, so you have a very high chance of winning. So there are those 4 categories. You get to pick what category you want to be in, and you have to pay per category. So the initial fee to register is, for North Carolina, is $150. To add on a category is an additional $50. So it's really not that expensive if you think about like the grand scheme of like you getting to compete in 4 different categories and then like whatever. So once you are in your category, you will be placed with 5 or 6 other therapists depending on who all has registered, what the schedule looks like, and you will all be competing at the same time. What's really cool about that is the person... how am I going to explain this? Because I always get myself confused when I explain it. So there is Group A and Group B, right? Let's say I competed in open category Eastern. No, I did Western.
Okay.
My partner was doing Swedish massage. He was group A. I was group A, which means I massaged first and he was on my table. And an hour after, he was going to be massaging and I was going to be on his table. So there was a really nice trade system of all of us got massages and all of us got to massage, which was really, really cool. So while all of that's happening, you've got 5 or 6 judges walking around. Depending on the categories, judges will be assigned. So like if you're doing clinical, there is a judge watching you the entire time, not breaking contact, literally only focused on you, which is very stressful. But if you're doing what I did, which was open category, there's like 6 or 7 judges walking around, kind of looking at everybody the whole time. So you're given a rubric, not you, the judge, is given a rubric based on body mechanics. So how well are you holding yourself? Are you hunched over? Are you, using really shitty posture? Or are you aligned? Are your joints stacked properly? Are you holding yourself in a way that you're not burning yourself out? How well do you communicate with your client? Have you told them that you'll be touching their glutes? Have you asked them about draping? Have you checked in with their face cradle, with the bolster, with the table temperature? Techniques. How innovative are you? Are you doing the things that you learned in massage school and you haven't learned anything else since? Are you trying new things that haven't even been thought of yet and you're trying to figure out how to integrate it into your massage? Surprisingly, and the thing that got me the most deduction of points, your outfit matters. Does your outfit match your type of massage? And is it professional? Which is a whole tangent I could go on about being a professional. Oh, but anyway, more clinical. That was my feedback. Dress more clinical. Because I always wear stuff like this, where like this little bit of my stomach is showing. And God forbid, my skin touch your skin. Oh my God, how dare I? But so those are basically the things that you're graded on. And it's really cool. So 85 points. And when you start the competition, everybody is given half of those points. So I think that's like, 42, 43? Because they don't do half, so they would round it up. Okay. So if it's 42.50, it would be 43. And so everyone starts with that, and you can either lose points or gain points based on what people see. So great example. I ended up with a score of 55.4, which sounds really bad, but that's actually pretty high, especially for the category that I was in. Western is one of the most popular because it's open, so you can basically do whatever you want. Like if you're doing Swedish, you have to do the 5 basic things of Swedish: effleurage, petrissage, pediment, all of those types of things. Where open, you get to kind of just showcase your own thing. So I did open. Granted, I was probably in the wrong category, but it's fine. I gained a lot of points because they really loved my body mechanics. I was actually told by every single judge that I had the best body mechanics they've ever seen in a massage therapist. So there will be a course coming soon on body mechanics. Flow. I got a lot of great points for flow. They also said they've never seen somebody dance around the table like me, because I do very much so quite literally dance around the table. It's really cool to watch. But I also lost points because of, again, my outfit wasn't exactly what they wanted to see. And I lost points for sloppiness. Like, I have rice packs. They're heated. I have a towel warmer that I leave everything in, and I will use those throughout the massage. There's one that goes on the back. There's one that goes under your neck. And during the massage, I had taken that because, so a studio massage and a competition massage are very different.
Mm.
In competition, your hands better not come off that client one time. You will lose points if you disconnect from your client. So in my studio, I'm used to being able to remove the rice packs, put them back in my heater, kind of do my thing.
Mm.
Competition, I was not about to risk not touching my client, so I just threw it under the table and I lost a point because I didn't put it back in the towel caddy or even put it on something that wasn't the floor. So they're very particular in like what they want to see. But the really cool thing this year they started implementing, so anybody who's interested in competing, like I definitely recommend doing it. They just keep getting better and better every year. They now give you the feedback cards that the judges wrote on. So every year they tell, you know, this is why we deducted points or this is what we really loved. We never got those in the past. They started giving them to us this year. So we really got to see not only talking to the judges, but getting to see literally what they have written down of like, oh, okay, yeah. I won't lose points next year if I just wear a different shirt, or I won't, you know what I mean? So it's really, really instant feedback of this is really what we liked. This is something that we could see needs to be improved. And also, it's an amazing time to network. Again, one of my superpowers, this confidence of just being able to walk into a room. Every single important person knew who I was by the end of that weekend. Because what is the point of going to a massage competition if not to network with world-class massage therapists? Yeah. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not doing that. Like, it's a free invitation to meet powerful people and do powerful things. That's amazing.
Yeah. How do you navigate your own authentic expression and this part of yourself that is clearly really, really important to who you are, to the work that you do, all of that kind of stuff, and needing to hit particular metrics like not wearing a midriff or something like that during a massage competition? Like, how do you reconcile those two pieces? Are you just like, F it, I'm just going to wear a midriff regardless of what you're deducting a point, or like trying to like overtake the judges, or do you just kind of surrender to that for this competition? Like, how do you personally navigate something like that?
So that's actually something I'm actually still kind of navigating and processing. Mm-hmm. One of my biggest struggles in this entire career has been around, and I want to say this correctly, not my sexuality, but my sensuality. You know, I am a very big believer that how I present myself shouldn't matter as long as my quality of work is speaking for me. So I have always had a really hard time being shamed for the body that I have. And I know that sounds funny if you're, watching this video and be like, you've been shamed for your body. And absolutely, I have. Unfortunately, being a naturally fit, lean individual has caused a lot of problems in my profession of, oh, you look too good. Like, you can't wear something like that when you massage. People are going to assume, the wrong thing. And it's the same thing of like, because I'm wearing a mini skirt to a bar, I deserve to be sexually assaulted. Like, no. Right. If my quality is speaking for itself, why do I have to be put into this box of what you think is professional? And so I'm actually going through one of the directors of the North Carolina Championship. Her name is Tina. She is amazing. Hi, Tina, if you're listening. She wrote a book called Good Massage Gone Bad. She is, dare I say, world famous in the massage world for that book. It's a huge CE course that she has. It's an 8-hour course that basically teaches professionalism in the massage world. And although I've never read the book, I do plan on reading it. I can already tell it's going to rub me the wrong way, because if you're telling me what I'm doing wrong in my business, how about you just worry about yourself? I've never had, other than the one time that one person gave me a problem with the happy ending, which had nothing to do with my outfit, I would just like to say, nobody's ever said anything to me about my outfits. And the way that I've always justified it in the massage world, the more comfortable I am, the better of a massage you'll be getting. Why would you not want me to be in clothes that I feel comfortable moving in every direction and using my body in this? Why do I have to? It's fucking body work. Like, it is literally body work. I am rubbing your naked body with my hands, but it is so crazy to think that I can have skin showing. I'm touching your skin with my skin. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm also the person who thinks if it was legal to do a full body naked massage, like both of us, I would probably fucking do it. And like, I don't mean that in a sexual way. It's a human connection. Yeah. It is skin to skin, this intimate, beautiful thing. Everybody twists it and turns it to make it this dirty, provocative, like MO. And that's not what it is. Why can't human beings just be primal together? Why does my outfit have to equivalate to me wanting to look sexy or any type? Like, I'm just in something that makes me feel good and allows me to move to do my job. So why don't you just shut the fuck up? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that really speaks volumes, because I think I would love to get a massage from you, but you are quite far away from me. But like, in seeing you, I think one of the things that I see often is how comfortable you are in your body, right? And how comfortable you seem to just be physically. And I think that does translate. When I was imagining when you're talking about, like, a masseuse who comes off in really rigid clothing, or is it moving well, or is just like whatever how something is presented even completely changes the vibe. And I think I'm guessing, even probably because massage, I guess depending on who you talk to, can blend into that, right? There are the masseuses who go into the happy endings. There are, I would say, massage parlors that go in a completely different direction than what you do or what other professional massages do. And there is all this lines that, and particularly in America, we come from a very puritanical society, that it's like, oh, if there's any sort of blending of these things, if there's any sort of opening up to this intimacy, to the connection, to something maybe deeper than just a body touching a body, and we want to keep that as like the only thing that should be exposed is your hands or whatever it is, like, there's all of that fear there. But I do hear, and I agree with you with what you're saying, that like the freer the other person is, the freer I'm going to be. When that's happening, I'm going to be more relaxed. I'm going to be more comfortable with my body and being able to receive that person's gifts and stuff, right? I'm not going to be able to be as naturally defensive or stiff or those kinds of components when the person who's giving massage is clearly free and comfortable and self-expressive in who they are.
Exactly. Also, I have two things that I want to say. Okay. Only because, one, I just caught it, and this is education. Don't call your massage therapist a masseuse. A masseuse is a term for a prostitute. Fun fact. Okay. Fun fact. So, if you're referring to an actual therapist, because I'm not here to judge masseuses. If you do that in your free time and that is your business, like, that is amazing. That's your MO. But we are talking about massage therapists here. People who are not doing sexual affairs. And the second thing was, a lot of this topic, this problem, is an American-based thing for sure. Like, it's very, oh my God, we see bodies as a sin. Like, we're so wrapped up in this like fake Christianity type thing. But it's also geographic. Like, North Carolina, unfortunately, is one of the hardest states to get licensed in, New York being the hardest. We have a lot of rules and regulations and laws around massage, whereas if you go to Florida, I could give you a massage on the beach in my bikini, and I'm not breaking any laws. Like, and I'm not even saying that as a joke. Like, I have friends, their entire business model is giving you a massage on the beach, and they're doing acro yoga together, and everyone's in their bikinis, just living their best life. But if I were to do that here, even in Wilmington, which is the coast of North Carolina, for those of you who are not geographically gifted like me, that still is not a thing. Like, you would not be allowed to do that. But it's, it's based on your state. Granted, Florida is like the Europe of America for sure. They're on their whole own species. But it's very much so also being stuck in a state that is very old school and also very, Puritan of like, no, we are not going to like even cross a boundary. We want it black and we want it white and we don't want any gray. And it's like, but the gray is where the magic happens. And I wish more people would be comfortable living in gray space, because life is not black and white.
Yeah, I love that. I've never heard that quote before, and maybe you just made it, but the magic is in the gray, I think is a beautiful statement. One of the things you talked about a lot on your Instagram post when I was kind of looking into more was this theme of hyper independence. And I'm curious about that aspect of yourself, because you're obviously somebody who's so confident and you have all this, charisma, and you take big leaps and you have such a deep belief in yourself and you've worked through so many different things and overcome very many challenges. And at the same time, there can be the shadow aspect of that, of doing everything on your own, not asking for help, not reaching out, feeling like you have to do everything on your own. And as a young 26-year-old something, I'm curious how you've navigated that aspect of your life.
I have always been very proud of being super independent. Going back to my mom, she, single parent. My mom is all I've ever had. My dad signed his rights away when I was very, very little. That was a very traumatic experience for everybody involved. My dad is a horrible person. I hope you're listening. But so because of that, because of all of these things that my mom went through with custody, and also things that happened before I was born, like her growing up in religion and her being the oldest of 4 kids, she got a lot of things thrown on her that she didn't necessarily want or ask for or even agree with. So growing up, my older brother, I love my brother to death, but he and my mom both struggled a lot with mental illnesses that they were both not ready to acknowledge or get support for. And that made growing up very difficult. I describe the first 18 years of my life as living in World War III. You didn't know if you were going to come home to a mushroom cloud and everything was going to be in shambles, or if things were going to be fine and everyone was going to act like nothing happened the night before. Like, things were so bad at my house, I could call the cops from 911, just like from the normal 911, and they would know it was me. They'd say, Morgan, someone's already on the way. Don't even worry about it. Like, it was not fun. So and this is not my words, this is my therapist's words, being the least mentally ill person of my family, as amazing as that is, being able to break a lot of generational curses, it also means I got a lot of burden. Morgan didn't have a parent for a lot of her life. My mom was my biggest support, but she didn't parent me a lot of the time. She was either extremely aggressive and screaming and raging and was very terrifying, or she was trying to be my friend. There was no parent. All of the energy went to my brother, because we didn't know if he was going to kill himself or if something, if he was going to hurt somebody else. So all of the energy, whether it was my grandparents or my mom, constantly went to Chandler. I still had to live. I still had to do my own thing. So I raised myself. I did my own laundry. I cooked my own meals. The only thing I relied on my mom for was transportation. I couldn't drive yet. You know what I mean? Other than taking the public bus to school, I had to rely on her for dance, for cheerleading, for swimming, for all of these things. And the reason I was in all of those things was because those were my outlets. Those were my escapes. If I wasn't at home and I was getting bullied at school, God, at least I could go to dance 3 nights a week and know that for an hour of my night, something was going to be normal. There was nobody screaming at me, nobody telling me that I was fucking stupid. My brother wasn't trying to kill me. Like, this was my safe space. So I learned at a really young age to pour myself into everything else. I got really into journaling. I got really into self-expression. You know, I've danced my entire life, so I've always been into dancing. I mean, I can remember I just recently danced in my first showcase as an adult, and I danced to Christina Aguilera's Dirty, which as a child, that song specifically, because it was a little sexual and a little spicy and a little for my like 11-year-old self, that song specifically, but really that whole album, I would listen to it until 3 or 4 in the morning with my little headphones in, just dancing away in my room. And, you know, I lived in a double wide trailer, so sometimes my mom would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Go to bed, it's so late, you're shaking the whole house. And I'm like, I just want to dance, I hate my life. And so getting to do that opening number as an adult with that song, I mean, I cried so much at the end of last weekend, because that healed so many of those wounds of like, that was my only way of regulating or allowing myself to feel anything. And it's like, whoa, now I did that as an adult for fun. Like, I'm not doing this as an escape or as a regulation of any kind. And so, yeah, I guess I've just kind of always been really, really independent because I had to be. And then I learned to really love it. Like, I remember I was probably 19 or 20, and I was really, I've always been into self-development my entire life, watching my brother go through his mental stuff, watching my dad be this horrible person, and watching my mom grow into an amazing person and hold herself accountable and do these things, really put that into my brain of like, oh, you should constantly be doing that. If you're not constantly working on yourself, you know, you're staying the same and you're dying, basically. So, where was I going with that? There was a whole thing that I was going to wrap that back around to. Oh my God.
My question was around like the hyper independence, and then with how you kind of like the dark side of that, like how you dealt with that.
Yes. So I grew up to really love that side of me. Like, I loved being hyper independent, and I loved not having to rely on anybody until I started doing some really, really deep introspective, I think the trending term is shadow work, learning how to do all of these really dark, twisty things and sitting with myself. There were all of these videos that would pop up on Instagram of, you know, this sign of hyper independence means that this happened, or like, you shouldn't, you know, nobody should be this independent, and like blah blah blah, like you're just like compensating for something. And I'm like, I just genuinely feel like I'm in control of my life. Like, why is this such a problem for people? Like, I didn't think this was an issue. So I started looking into that a little bit more, reading those comments, you know, seeing what this was about. And then it kind of really hit me, like, oh, hyper-independence really does mean, like, at some point in your life, me, not you, you, you were abandoned. you were left to feel like you had nobody around but yourself because you didn't trust anybody, you know? And that's something that I'm still having a really hard time with, is allowing myself to rely on others. I do have a few people in my community and like my business world that I trust, and like there are people that I would call in a heartbeat that I know would never judge me, but it's still that, oh, I can do this. I know it's an option for me, but oh my God, am I going to be a burden to this person? Like, I can just figure this out myself. Like, it's fine. I'm resilient. I don't need anyone's help. It has caused a lot of hardship in that way of seeing who I really am. And that's been a struggle this year, being 26, you know, getting closer to 30, you know, doing the pole dancing and being authentic. I've really had to look at myself and be like, am I being authentic? Am I really being this person that I think I am. I think I'm this strong person. I've got everything together. The second something goes wrong, I'm the first one to start crying. Like the second, I'm so emotionally, I was going to say weak, but that's not the right word because I'm not emotionally weak. I'm very sensitive. I cry. You've seen this firsthand. I cry very easily. And so that was also a challenge of like, I think I'm this big, strong person. Why do I fucking cry all the time? Like, who am I? And I honestly still don't really know, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't know who I am if I'm not hyper independent. I don't know who I am if I'm allowing others to do things for me. Like, I still get very reactive when it comes to expressing my truth in a way that's not about me. Like, if I'm talking about my own hobbies and my own, like, thoughts, I don't really care if I offend anybody because it's my life and you're not paying my bills. But if my opinion is going to affect you, like if I need something, but it's going to affect, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. You want to come at me and tell me that you hate my pole dancing? Great. I'm just gonna like block you or like have you unfollow me. I don't care. But if something I'm doing is actually affecting you, like if a massage technique I was doing was causing some pain or some advice I gave you, kind of led you astray, I would have a very hard time with that confrontation or even kind of backtracking myself of like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't, like this has always worked for me. It's almost this like, as confident as I am, there's also this like second guessing always kind of going on when it comes to having to bring somebody else in. If it's just me and I'm just making the decision, I don't care. It'll be made like that. But the second someone else is involved, it's very hard for me to rely on them, to trust them, or to even think about them. How am I going to integrate this into my life? How am I going to easily make this accessible? Or does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, I just rambled.
Well, you're on a podcast. You're allowed to do that. One of the things that I heard you mention was the difficulty in learning to trust other people in particular, right? You've learned from hyperindependence that you can definitely trust yourself to move through things, to navigate your life, to put yourself together, handle your shit, even if other people around you are crazy. But the hard part for you is learning to be able to trust others. So with that being said, I'm curious, like what do you do to learn to trust others? How do you develop that trust in other people?
Well, the first thing that I have learned that really works for me, the first thing is very generic and very like eye-rolly, but I really just lead with an open heart. Like I really try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, please prove me wrong. Please show me first that you are an open person too. And I will lead with this curiosity and openness of, tell me about yourself. I really want to, bond and connect. But something that has worked a little bit better for me, and this is a very privileged thing, and this is not going to be an answer for everyone. I put myself in rooms of people that I respect. So a great example, I spent $10,000 on a mentorship a few years ago. People that I found online, didn't know anything about them, but they're living a life that I want. So they already have some respect that they're piquing an interest in doing something that is aligned with me. I got my ass on an airplane for the first time ever traveling somewhere by myself. And I sat in a room where I met John and listened to people who were in better places than me tell me that I could be that person. And then I befriended some of those people. So John Romanello, he's somebody that I trust wholeheartedly. Any advice he wants to give me, anything he wants to tell me, I'm going to absorb that because I trust and respect him. Whereas people in my everyday life, if you're not really living in congruence with your own words or a life that you want to be living, I'm not going to trust you. I'm not going to just lead with curiosity, because you've kind of already proven to me that I don't resonate with that and that I don't really want that. So again, the whole privilege thing is like, I find people that feel like my vibe, and I will learn them and listen to them and hopefully find them respectable and trustworthy and grow a relationship. Yeah. But it really does take, and I know this is so cliche and I know it's so corny for the people who are rolling their eyes, I encourage you to listen. You have to get yourself out of your hometown environments to find people to trust and to love and to grow. It's not the same people you went to high school with. It's not the people that have been your neighbors your whole life. Those are the same people who are in the small town drama, who are running with the rumors and doing all of the things that are incongruent with their lifestyles. Find people doing the things that you want to do, and you will trust them wholeheartedly because they are doing the things, living in integrity and authenticity, and it makes it easier to trust them, at least in my opinion.
Beautiful. Well, I think that is a beautiful spot to wrap up. So Morgan, this was an absolutely delight. If people want to follow you, stay in touch with you, where can they do that?
You can find me at Morgan Kylia, Kylia. It's pretty much on all socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm not very active on Facebook. And TikTok is really only for my pole videos. So if you want to watch those, come and play. But other than that, you just have to see all of my stuff on Instagram. That's where I am the most active, unfortunately. And Snapchat, but I'm not giving my Snapchat
out. Perfect. Well, Morgan, this was an absolute pleasure. I will wish you the best of luck. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, this was so fun.